My name is Sharon Alvarez. I am the Walter Koch Endowed Chair in Entrepreneurship at the University of Denver, the Daniels College of Business. I was motivated to do the king crab qualitative piece that appeared in JBV back in 2007. It was right after the Discovery Creation paper, the 2007 Discovery Creation paper had come out. And everybody was talking about, well, of course entrepreneurs discover opportunities, and that seemed to have such an intuitiveness to it. And I knew I'd seen a lot of process in the students that I was teaching, in the classroom, and I knew that entrepreneurs retrospectively saying we discovered something was a lot different than watching them go through the process itself. And so I thought, as I think now, quite frankly, that the theory needed to be tested. And I do believe that the discovery creation debate, I think the debate's over. I think discovery probably exists in some ways, creation exists in other ways, and it's time for testing. I think the field needs to move on and start testing this stuff. Opportunity is here and it's here to stay. But I was looking for data. And this doctoral student, who turned out to be my co-author, Susan Young, was taking an entrepreneurship history class out of the history department at Ohio State. And she comes to me one day and she says, you know, I think I found a creation story. And so she started telling me about this king crab story, and I thought, wow, I think it is a creation story. And so we started to dig into it a little bit more, and we were able to get a lot of data. It was a very significant event in the U.S.'s history, so there was a lot of data available, a lot of data that we were able to collect. And it was just the perfect thing. It's the perfect process to understand the creation process, if you will. And the richness of that data just is amazing when you look back to how the entrepreneurial opportunity for king crab meat was created. So there's a lot of findings. I always go back, every time I think about entrepreneurship now, I actually go back to the king crab story, and I think about the different stages of that story, of that process. But the findings were, he did in fact create an opportunity. It was a de novo opportunity. There was not really an existing market imperfection for king crab meat. At the time when he started harvesting and wanting to sell king crab meat, it was really almost as if I put a tarantula on your plate and said, here, it's a delicacy, have at it, right? It was the same kind of reaction that people had. And so to watch him harvest these king crabs that had not been harvested in commercial quantities before, to watch him figure out how to process it, the technology innovations that had to happen for all this to be possible, to watch him creating the market, creating new channels of distribution, creating demand that had not previously existed. And then, which is the focus of the JPV paper, to watch how he then had to actually create institutions, right, that would fit what was going on with this novel king crab product. It's just each step of the way is fascinating. And we talk about things like Uber and marijuana today. Those are sort of the sexy things that we all talk about. But the reality is, this is what entrepreneurs have been doing all along, is they've had to, work to change institutions, create new institutions, and we've just been missing this because we've been adopting this discovery view as opposed to really adopting the creation view, which shows you what entrepreneurs are capable of. So again, the practical implications that come from this study are that it is a process. There's several steps to the process. And so one of the things that I think becomes very important for researchers and then for practitioners, but for researchers, is that creation is a process. And so we need to begin to understand the different steps in that process. And as we begin to test creation, the creation theory of opportunities, we need to test those different steps in the process. So that's from the research perspective. From a practical perspective, Again, the same thing, that it's this process of trial and error and experimentation, and stakeholders have to be enrolled. That's actually the follow-on paper to this paper, is a stakeholder enrollment paper, and it explains how you do this when the outcomes aren't really known. And so we go into great detail to explain that, and that's what entrepreneurs actually do, which is the beauty of qualitative work, right? The beauty of qualitative work is you're very close to practice. And so the things that you find and the recommendations you have tend to be very, very relevant to practitioners.